for God, for country, for truth, for justice, for the Republic. NeoCrusader.com.
People stop now, listen. You don't know what you're missing. The man will take you higher and be your one desire.
Episode 19. Thanks for joining in. The title of this episode is The Sign. And it's over, folks. September 23rd. It's official. The world is ending on that day. So I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be terrible. But no, I'm joking. That's some fake news there for you. It's not. But we are going to talk about some of the things that's actually going to happen in the sky, as well as in the calendar. So I've got Charlie Cuthbertson with me today. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing?
Not too bad. We've been planning on doing an episode together for a while, but Charlie was like, "Hey, let's do one on this." So I appreciate you coming in and actually doing this.
Absolutely,
I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
I'll tell you what, if anything, it's going to be interesting, guys. You know, it's cool. You know, you get to see something like this in your lifetime happening up in the skies, and if it means something, great. If it don't, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, in the skies, you know, nowadays we have calendars, and we can. We can look at a certain date and say, you know, if something occurs on that date, if there's an eclipse, we can say, well, it happened on this date. But, you know, back around the time that the book of Revelation was put down, there wasn't, you know, a calendar per se that you hung on the wall. What you did, you know, you would describe the signs in the heavens, and those signs happen at specific points in time. Yeah, it's their bodies moving through space, but they all come together at a specific point in time in the continuum. So if John, in, you know, what he was shown, if he saw this sign in the heaven, and what that is in Revelation 12, 1 through 6, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. And we'll get more into the dragon here in just a little bit. But, you know, now a lot of people say that relates to Israel. And of course, everything in the Bible relates to Israel. But, you know, for just even on a non-religious, you know, side, just some of the things that, what's interesting is some of the things that John is mentioning, if he's looking up in the sky, there are only certain points in history that he could be talking about. And specifically, the one that would be coming up on September 23rd, because, you know, Jupiter being within Virgo, because it's in retrograde for so long.
9 months.
Yeah, 9 months. So it kind of hangs out there. And you know, I'm not an astronomer, so we're going to post some really good videos, some of the places that we got some of our information from. There's going to be a good, it's underneath the media player, so there are going to be a few good videos. Just check that out after you listen to the podcast, or while you're listening to the podcast, kind of browse through the articles that I linked to. But a gentleman by the name of Robert Breaker has a really good video. He's got a whiteboard. He kind of shows the timeline, how this specifically relates to Israel, according to a book that was written thousands of years ago,
does a really good job, guys. It's a lot easier to see once you're staring at the dates and the whiteboard. It's a little complex getting into it, guys, so we're not going to really touch too much on it. It's more about what the sign is in Revelation 12 there.
Yeah, and I guess some of the you had mentioned all throughout history, and I just want to point out that that people have all throughout history made end of the world predictions, and
as early as 65 AD.
Oh well, dude, I'm still jaded from Y2K. It's like I'm still a little bit jaded that
we're still
society
here.
Didn't crash then, because that would have avoided a lot of things. September, the whole September the 11th, 2001.
Oh my Lord!
Anyway,
one that scared me, man. What about this? How about the 17th century? The Europeans, they thought in 1666.
Yeah. If it were me, that would be my pick for a year to say, hey, the devil's coming in.
The mark of the beast.
Yeah. But I mean, so it's not the first time in history that that people have said it, but this is really significant because
got a lot of compelling things to it.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of interesting scenarios there that are going to be playing out. So I'm looking at something called on my tablet here. It's an app called SkyMap.
Guys, this is so cool. If you haven't seen it before, download it. He's got me all turned on to this thing now. You can literally point the tablet in the sky and see exactly what it would be like.
Yeah, so we're literally looking at the constellation of Virgo, and Virgo is still pregnant, quote unquote pregnant, with the king planet Jupiter. It was it was associated, Jupiter, also with the king planet. Obviously, Jupiter is the name of an ancient little g god, but so that's how the people back then associated these stars with heavenly deities, with what some people say the Watchers, and then their offspring, the Nephilim. Mm-hmm. But anyway, not to trail off, we're looking at Virgo in the sky, and so the sun right now is at her left shoulder, sort of behind the woman, with the sun sort of peering through her. So now above her head is the constellation Leo. Now, Leo, of course, has 9 stars, non-visible stars to itself. But what also is interesting is that you also have Mercury, Mars, and Venus. Those 3 planets, which are known as transient stars, basically, you have those also within the constellation of Leo now. So now you have 12 stars at the head of the woman. So,
and that's important because Leo has been referred to as, the king, the greatness in the Bible. Leo is all
the lion of the tribe of Judah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's another underlying layer of importance there with that as well. But yeah, I mean, and so all those things, if there were one planet missing in Leo, we couldn't say, well, that's what John was, John wasn't referring to this time, but everything lines up, and it isn't the first time in history that it has occurred.
And you're right there. And just the constellation itself happening, it's happened 4 times in the last 1,000 years. And why is it important this time? As what everyone thinks. And that's right. Yeah, so we're going to really try to touch and go into that, guys, kind of explain that.
I'll let you tear into that a little bit.
So the biggest thing, guys, is something that struck me, and it struck Sean too. Jupiter really is what has got me kind of turned on this. You know, it's entering in Virgo and has entered her a little while back. In fact, exactly 9.5 months. And
yeah. So you know, and it's mentioned several places in the Bible about how, you know, a woman, the pain with the birth pains, you know, ready for the rebirth. And so this, with Jupiter being in retrograde, you know, obviously the planet isn't moving backwards, but what's happening is it's a sort of an optical illusion according to how we're moving versus how Jupiter's moving at the same time. And that's all also in a video that I'm going to link to underneath by Mark-Correll, who kind of, you know, he and Robert Breaker, they mimic each other a lot because, you know, it's, you know, the data's the data, you know, the constellations are the constellations. But, you know, Mr. Correll kind of, I think, dives into a few other things as well. He talks about the Star of Bethlehem a little more intricately. But yeah, each time, like the Star of Bethlehem, for example, has occurred. And when was the last time it occurred?
It was during Jesus' birth.
No.
You know, excuse me. If y'all didn't know this, we just had it happen.
Yeah, 2015
of the September 23rd of 2015. Exactly 2 years. Yeah. After this sign is happening. So it's kind of crazy.
Now keep in mind also that it's mentioned elsewhere that, you know, things also are going to be happening. The waves will be roaring. There will be signs. People talk about you know, the blood moons, and some people say, well, they're not blood moons, and so, you know, but you've got the blood moons. You've got just the synchronicity of everything alone. How excuse me. How, you know, everything occurs on a certain day, even the feasts, even the Jewish high holidays, when this occurs, you know, and this has been in motion for thousands of years. This was written thousands of years ago. So, you know, whether you believe or not, you know, that the fact that if he is talking about an event and he is signifying when that event will kick off by what we see in the heavens, then there's a good indication that this time on September 23rd, I mean, there's some compelling evidence that, hey, you should at least maybe be ready in whatever way you feel ready is. But, you know, if nothing else, it'll be interesting just to, you know, to kind of see what's going on. There have been some things that occurred, you know, with the Star of Bethlehem. Now, that was in 2015, and you say, well, what does that have to do with 2017? Well, when Charlie and I were talking about it, what's crazy about the issue is that, you know, it took the wise men, people say, roughly 2 years to find, you know, Jesus following the star. They came to Herod. You know, they were going around looking for this King of the Jews. That this star, you know, the Star of Bethlehem signified, and you know, Herod sort of freaked. He was like, well, wait a minute, I'm the king, so, you know, if there's another one born, then
he's done for.
I'm out. So he started killing all the kids from 0 to 2 years old, basically.